Yes, that's the one.
Oh, okay. Let's go back here. Now let me show a scenario. So let me run some test so that we'll all see this. Okay, this move is happening. Whatever is my current log file movement is happening automatically. So you see here my current log file scenario. Current log file is S003, right? So I have only 01, 00 and 02 in this directory. Let's do some kind of an operation at a database level so that 3 becomes 4. Okay, let me show you. It's a quick insert statements. We'll do the job. So DB2 connect to utils, create table. Let me put you on mute for a quick minute. Okay. Let me run this. Create it. Let me create multiple columns. So it's kind of a long transaction. I'm selecting from the same table and inserting in the same table. Okay. DB2 get DB config for utils. Grep minus I log. It gets me, I'm still in the S003.log. First active. You see here the first active log moved to 9 now, right? So it is now 18. We don't have 18 previously. We had capped till 14 only, right? Now let's go and see this directory. While that command runs, we had like 49 allocated now, but the starting is 25. What happens to the rest of the things, right? The rest of the things are moved to the archive log location. We can see them from there. It's 26. Okay, the system's stuck now. I'll explain you why they are stuck. Now if I go to this location, DB2 get DB config for utils, grep-i logs. So let's get into this location. This is where the archives. You see this transaction log for database is full. I'll explain you this scenario in a bit. But before that, this is where you see all your previous archive logs that are from 0 till the latest 168. Right? So just need to remember the directories. So from log buffer, it comes to this archives, transactional log location. From this, the movement is automatic. Whenever the log file is full here, it will push it to this transaction, from transactional logs to archive logs location. So if I go back here, so I got like from 63 to 83, right? But if you look at here, the archive log location, I have copied till 68. These will go slowly. Like I said, it's a little lazy, right? So whenever the next log operation happens, it cleans up this. Right? It does takes care of it. So so I have it till 68. Now there is one important concept here called transaction logs getting full. I mean, it's not just here, anywhere in any database. What if my log space is full? Okay, what scenarios my log space can be full? Right. Do I have any other operation? No. Now for this, you need to understand DB config for the database name grep-i logs. Just search for log. We learned about these primary logs, right? 13, right? Now let's start from here. So whenever I start my database or change the configuration parameter to archive logging, I get 13 logs allocated, S0, S1, S2, S3, okay. This is how I get 13 logs allocated, because my log primary is 13. That means I can have only at any point 13 log primaries. So what is my log primary directory? This is the one. Right. But here is an important catch. We discussed that from here to an archive directory, the movement happens automatically, right? The movement happens only for inactive log files. The movement happens only for inactive and full archive logs. Inactive and full archive log files. That means I started from here. This is my active log. Okay. Now once this S0 is full, I'll go here. This is active log. Now the status for this changed to ready to archive. Okay. That means the system will take care of it and moves it to the location here. Now since it moved one, it will add one here, S13. Because at any point I can have only 13 log files there. Now from S1, once it writes all the, let's say, log file size here is log file size, let's say, is some 50 MB. Once this S1 is full, the cursor moves to the S2, the log switch happens to S2. Now this status will be changed to ready for archive. Now system picks it up and pushes this guy to here. This looks very simple and straightforward, but here comes a little catch. So this is a current active log. I started an update transaction here, which is a long transaction in my opinion. Transaction of updating 1 million records. But as for the definition, right? First definition, I'll move only inactive and full archive logs. Or the logs, in short, are the logs that are ready for archive. These are not ready for archive, right? So once I fill this S2, I'll move here. This becomes active log. But the point is, I haven't committed this update transaction yet. So we learned some definition called active log definition. What is active log? A log is active if it has at least one uncommitted transaction. So this S2 becomes active. So if it is active, it will never ready for archive. Now I move the switch to S4. It also becomes active. Rest all might complete, but one transaction run by Ravi is still active in S2, S3, S4. Active. So since these are active, these are not getting archived. Since these are not getting archived, let me write it here, active. So this is a critical situation, but we have simple solution for this, very simple solution. Right. So these are all active. I started from S2 till S4. I consumed all the 13 log files that allocated for this, but my long transaction hasn't terminated yet. So should I go and allocate S15? and violate the rule of only 13 primary log files, we won't allocate here S15. But what to do? If a transaction log is full and you cannot write it, it's just a stuck situation. What happens to this current active transaction? Even to roll back itself, you need some log file, right? Okay, so and I cannot move S2 to here and assign S15 here because this is still active. So this is where there is a concept called log second. Right? Now what is the log second value here? 12. These are default numbers, just a default number. So in such kind of a scenarios, it's like our emergency money that we keep aside. In case of war situations, we have some emergency money always kept aside, right? That kind of a situation this is. So here it assigns S15. From this, it can maximum assign 12 log files, S15, S16, S17, S18. Right, like this, it will allocate 12 log files. Right. These log files will also have the same numbering, but it's tough to differentiate though. S15, S2, S26, you will have the secondary log files assigned. It will try to finish up this long transaction within these log files, the new log files, secondary log files. If still my update transaction is not finishing it up, then it will roll back. That's the point when it starts rolling back, right? I know this is something new. I haven't seen this in Oracle or other databases, but this is just something new, right? Because of the way they designed the movement, automatic movement between active log location to archive log location. Now let me pause here and take questions.
Okay, can we increase the size or the same size S2, S3, S4? So let's say if that log we can't add another log like S15 in the previous scenario. Can we increase the size of the log? Means like S2, can I bump up the number?
True. So those are the scenarios, right? So here now let's talk about I have unstable environment, so I might get like updates and deletes, crazy stuff. So here log second 12 might not be sufficient. What is some simple solutions I have, right? If I set log second to -1, this is like infinite logging. As long as I have space in this directory, right, in this directory, it will start allocating log secondary till infinite number, right? It will just put infinite log secondaries, right? S26, 27, 20, infinite till my log transaction completes, right? So that's one scenario, right? Or the second scenario, generally what we do is we give a we know our environment. So we actually give this log file size. We have each log file size 500 MB in my environment, and we have a log primaries as close to 250 log primaries. You know, we are pretty much talking about gigabytes of log primary storage. The database size is only we have like 3.5 to 4 terabyte, and this is a log file size we give. Each log is like 500 MB, and the log primary is 250. It will allocate 250 log files. But again, you need to be careful here. When you give these numbers, right? When you are reinitializing your database or restoring the database, it will take little longer time because it has to allocate these 250 log files in advance along with this 500 MB, right? But that's a different story. Let's not go there now. Yes, to answer your question, yes, you can give any size here, right? There is certain limit that I can have up to 2 terabyte or 4 terabyte of log primary size. Yeah, of course, you have on top of it log secondary. I mean, tell me any transaction which spans more than like a terabyte, right? So
How about checkpoint? Checkpoint is basically like a write ahead. Does it help anything to push it into archive when you issue a check? If you can't issue a commit.
yes, checkpoint might push you from log buffer to active log, but not from active log to archive log. No, it's not a checkpoint responsibility here. So what you're saying is, if my log buffer, we have one more parameter called log buffer here. This log buffer will be flushed to transactional logs. So there are two scenarios this log buffer gets flushed. What are the scenarios? The first one is when log buffer is full. Second is someone commits. So none of the scenarios is happening and you did a checkpoint. Our system does a checkpoint. So that scenarios also, it will flush from this log buffer to transaction log. That's it. The scope of checkpoint is with respect to log is this one. But from memory point of view, it will try to put all the dirty pages back into the data files, right? No, checkpoint has no impact here on that aspect. It's purely this log primary plays a role. That's it. Like I said, so this long transaction sometimes still comes. There are ways to detect it, right? There are some parameters which I talk in the slide. What they do is, if some transaction is using, let's say 40% of a log space, okay, terminate the transaction. You don't even have to look at it. You can automate it automatically. There's a configuration parameter. Things like that. If a transaction is spanning more than, let's say, 200 log files, just terminate it, right? So that others won't suffer. But at a high level, if you want to control it, you can use log second as -1. That's infinite logging, or any size you can give. So let's quickly skim through some of these parameters. DB2 get DB config is helping me to get a database level configuration, right? Or you can say for any specific database. So path to log files is a location where I have transaction log stored. And log primary, like I said, is a primary log files. Log secondary will help me to have infinite logging. These are just default numbers, but the numbers that I suggest is have a very big number for this. I think it takes up to 256. Log primary you can have up to 256. I mean, log primary plus log secondary you can have 256 if log second is not -1. So you can have this 256 here. So when do I enable archive logging? We are talking about two logging types, circular and archive, right? So after S2 till S4 coming back and overwriting S2, it's a circular logging, which is for non-production environments, right? How do I know, or how do I enable archive logging is, this is a parameter to modify. So we have done this for utils database, because as part of load exercise, we have done this for utils. So let's say if we DB2 get DB config for utils, grep -i log arc method 1. So method 2 is another directory. Same copy will be stored in method 2 here. But when I do the same thing for test DB1, you won't see this. The log arc method is off. Because by default you get circular logging. By default archive logging is not enabled for any DB2 database that you create.
you have to explicitly go and update this parameter. The syntax you can find in load exercise that we did other day, right? This can be disk, this can be TSM. Those are the two parameters I worked on. It will directly write into a TSM. Okay, so that it will be there for longer time, right? So that's probably one of the reasons why we have a shorter log file location, so that it will quickly go and sit in TSM, so that it is there forever, right? I cannot put this archive transactional log, the active transaction log on TSM, right? So, but I can put these archive logs on TSM so that they stay there forever, right? So, how do I update this archive logging? It's very simple, right? Same update statement again. DB2 update database configuration using log.org method 1, log.org method 2. Then you have deactivate database and activate database. So since I have changed a very important parameter, it will push me for the backup. That's what we did the other day for load exercises. So simply I'm running a backup database command to temp. We will see this backup command tomorrow. Now quickly moving on. Anyway, this is as part of my exercise document too. Go ahead, Osha.
Yeah, so one question here. So we got this, we ran into that error, right? Log fill.
Right.
When you did your insert. So at that point, what happened? All these 12 or 13 primary, what was the first one we were calling?
Log primary.
Yeah, so those got filled. Yeah, these got filled and they came to archive. Right? We had 13. So all the 13 got filled and they became archive. And then it became log fill.
No, we will never go to see if we go to archive, there is no concept of log fill. Okay, so let me go back here one more time. So okay, before we move on, so let's do this one more time. Okay, so I have a log buffer. I'm sure we are comfortable now. Log buffer right into transactional logs. We call it as a new log path here in terminology. From here you go to archive, which is log.org method 1 or 2. So log buffer to transaction logs when it writes, whenever it is full or whenever it is commits, or maybe checkpoint, CP. Right? Now from transaction logs to archive when it writes, when a log is eligible for archiving. Now that brings to the another question, that when a log is eligible for archiving. A log is eligible for archiving if it does not have any open or active or uncommitted, whatever we call uncommitted transactions. So in case of, so my log primary is, let's say 5. So S0, S1, S2, S3, S4. So these 4 allocated. My transaction started here, your update statement started here, but it's not committed yet, so it's spanned here. Update is still running. The transaction did not commit. So it consumed all the primary log space, 5 log files.
Oh, all the 5 are used. I thought they'll go in sequence.
Okay. Now it won't allocate S5 because your bank balance is over. There is no money to spend. That is when you switch to something called disaster, right? Backup. Something called log second. Your log second might be 3. Then you say that, okay, I'm allocating S5. S6, S7. Even if I consume my backup money also, who can help me? So, right, there is no one can help me in that. Excuse me. So this is the maximum stretch I can do. After this, I cannot go further because I am not allowed to.
Yeah,
Right?
that's your limit. Okay.
Yeah, but we don't come into these situations because the general standard we follow is log primary. We give a very big number, something like 256. I recommend these numbers, right? And the log file size. So just put it somewhere around 300 MB or 500 MB. These are very big numbers. 256 files multiplied by 300 MB is a very, very big number, right? Just leave it log second as -1 if you still want to play safe, so that even if some transaction goes beyond these limits, still you have infinite logging. So, and there are two more parameters here: number of log spans and maximum logs. So this number of log span specifies number of log files a transaction can span. If I give this number, let's say as 4, the moment you come from S0, S1, S2, S3, and if you are trying to get into S4, your transaction will terminate. Because I gave only right for any transaction to be part of only 4 log files. So similarly, you can have other parameter called max log. Maximum log space or percentage any transaction can occupy. For example, if I specify this 60%, out of these 7 logs, if a single transaction is occupying 60% of 7 log spaces, then also it will terminate. But 60% of log space or something, those numbers are very huge, right? You just make sure from DBA side, because of one bad guy or one bad work, you should not make other logs suffer, right? So those are these parameters: number of log spans and maximum log. Right? This is some kind of a tuning side, not tuning, this maintenance stuff. Yeah, this max log is only primary log space, not secondary log space, only primary. So those are the parameters we play on. Let's
Because
go
I
through.
do get these kind of, when I'm on call, transaction log full limit night. So that's when I little struggle with, what to do kind of a thing.
Yeah, increase the file size, log file size, right?
Increase the log file size or add one more. Can we add primary in the? Can we play around with adding these file size?
Yeah, just that depends upon size of your transaction logs direct. If you think you have enough size, right, just double both, double the log primary and double the log file size, and see how it responds. Right, just double both of them, or simply give log second as -1 and watch out. Right, you will never come across log full, but log second equal to -1 can bring you file system full issue, because it's keep writing files into these transaction logs there. Yeah, so my this is what I recommend, right? So when you see transaction log full, if you don't want to take this extreme workaround, just double the log primary. Just double the log primary and see how it responds. If still not happening, then double the log file size. Right. So what are the values you have in your environment? So
I think I don't know why they're pretty small. They're into like MB kilobytes kind of a size.
no, it should not.
I'll make a note of.
Yeah. So just double the log primary and see how it responds, or double the log file size. Yeah, or you can do the both things in one shot. Right.
Okay.
That helps, because it's unnecessary wake up call. Yeah, I mean, there's still more to cover. So before we actually get into how do I take my first backup, so it's too much for today to talk on this.
Okay.
There are some log control files. It's again little logical. There's so much logical in logical. So in summary, right? Let's summarize this. In summary, just remember this log buffer in memory writes into log transaction logs on disk. From here it goes to archive log path. This log path can be on a disk or a TSM or in third party storage, but directly, right? So we looked at log primary, log second. There are two different log methods, circular and archive. I will show you how to convert someone from circular to archive in tomorrow's session. But we'll stop here for today. Yeah, even though I said only backup and recovery is 2 sessions, depends, right? I remember in one of the classes it dragged till like 5 sessions, right? So we are not even at 20% of backup and recovery. So I'm sure it's going to take another couple of sessions at least, along with exercises that we do.